everyone, and welcome back to my channel. On today's video, I am going to be walking you through basically all of the high protein breakfast items that I like to make on a regular basis. So usually I like to eat a higher protein meal at the start of my day. So it'll usually consist of either 50 to 60 grams of protein. This just helps me stay full longer and helps me with my cravings throughout the day, and then ensures that I'm meeting my protein intake for the day. So starting off with the recipes, I am doing the absolute best overnight oats. I am not an overnight oats girl at all. There's something about them that I just do not like, but these overnight oats are just absolutely amazing. They're made by Laura Lee. She has this cookbook that I will link down in the description box below. But I'm telling you guys, these overnight oats are a game changer. So I highly recommend. This is something that you can also pre-make and make ahead of time on the weekends. So you have this just ready to go. So here I'm making one for my husband and one for myself. I had plans of making this later on in the week, but I ended up just switching back over to my other breakfasts that usually contain eggs. So I prefer to have eggs in the morning just because I want that additional DHA along with the protein. So I usually stick to an egg-based breakfast, but these overnight oats are a great switch up for when you need one. And if you don't want them for breakfast, I find them to be a very good midday snack or even like a side item for lunch. So they don't necessarily need to be a breakfast item, in my opinion. So for this recipe, you want to make sure you are using pure maple syrup, not just like the normal syrup that you buy in the store. I got this at our local Sam's Club. I feel like it's the best price for maple syrup, but you can get it at basically every store. It is a little bit more pricey, but it is pure maple syrup and not just like pure sugar. So when you're doing overnight oats and you're using chia seeds, you have to mix it up, I want to say every minute for a couple seconds, for about 5 minutes, just to make sure that it doesn't clump together and you're able to get a thick consistency. So here I'm also storing the leftover coconut milk that I didn't use in a glass bottle. And then it's easy to reuse and shake up. Usually coconut milk kind of settles, or I don't know what it does, but you usually got to shake it up in order to use it again. So I felt like these bottles work great, and I believe I got them at IKEA. So I will try to link that below or something similar. So you'll top these with frozen blueberries. I had to rinse mine off a little bit just because they were so frozen and stuck together. But you do want these to be frozen. And basically, I just eyeball these and put as much frozen blueberries as I want. And then I absolutely love these Weck Jars. I don't know how it's pronounced, but these are amazing. I use these for a lot of things. So I will definitely link that down below. And I will also link another good overnight oats container item on Amazon as well.
So for breakfast this morning, I'm going to have these overnight oats. So what I usually like to do is you put them in the fridge overnight, but I like to let mine come to room temperature because I don't like to eat them cold. Just because I'm not like a cold oats person, so prefer to be semi-warm. So I let this sit out for probably, it's 7:53. I'm probably not going to eat this for an hour. And then in here I have my collagen peptides, which gives me some protein, and then my busy coffee with a little bit of vanilla syrup, and then my dairy-free creamer. So I will have this for the morning. I have no idea how much protein is in this, and if at all. I think chia seeds has protein, but that is my easy breakfast and something you can prep ahead of time. So make sure you eat breakfast.
Another easy meal I like to do are breakfast sandwiches. So I use the Cannon Bakehouse gluten-free mountain white bread. This is my favorite bread of theirs. I'm going to use 2 pasture-raised eggs, 2 slices of this organic American singles, and then Applegate's uncured ham. This is probably my favorite ham of theirs. I've tried the others, but I usually stick to this one for this breakfast sandwich. So I'm going to start by toasting 2 of these. It is gluten-free bread, so you need to kind of put it up pretty high. I like to get my pan a little hot, and then I'm going to put some avocado oil in it so the eggs don't stick. I prefer to also have a more like fried egg consistency, so that is another reason why I like to put the oil in. And as you will see throughout this video, I primarily use avocado oil when I am using high temperatures. Other times I will sometimes use extra virgin olive oil, but I've noticed with something like this, you want an oil that doesn't really have a taste, which is why I use the avocado oil, because that doesn't add really much of any taste to it, and it still gives you a healthy fat to be adding into your meals. So for all of my meals, I like to have a protein, a fat, sometimes a carb, and a veggie. But that's the one issue I have with these breakfast sandwiches is usually I don't have a veggie added into my breakfasts with these sandwiches, but I just try to make up for it through the rest of the day. So here I am going to basically fry up 2 eggs. I'm going to try to keep them semi over easy. If they get a little cooked, I don't mind that. You don't want them like super runny, because then when you bite into your sandwich, it's going to be a mess. But if you can get them still a little runny and not overcooked as a hard egg, that is just like the perfect consistency for the sandwich. As I continued to make these sandwiches and eat them so much, I decided to cut back on the cheese. So a couple of variations that I do with this is I do now only do 1 piece of cheese on one of the eggs. I still do the 2 eggs, and I still do the 2 pieces of uncured ham. Sometimes I will do an open face sandwich where I only just do 1 piece of bread on the bottom. But sometimes when you get this mountain white gluten-free bread, the slices can be really small. So if they come in really small, I end up just using 2, because 2 of those slices is like 1 regular bread piece. But here you will see I use 2 bread pieces. It really all depends on how hungry I am in the morning. If I am like famished, I will just usually eat both the pieces of bread, especially if I'm doing like a more high intensity cardio day or leg day. I just noticed my body tends to need those carbs more. So I just know to prepare myself for that. So if you follow me over on Instagram, you will see that I make this a lot. It's usually my go-to breakfast item. It doesn't require prep, and I usually always have these items on hand. So in addition to this sandwich, I usually also add in a protein coffee or a protein orange juice. So for my protein coffee, I actually have a YouTube short if you want to go check that out. It's also in my Disney pack with me, but that will also add in about 20 grams of protein. And I believe this sandwich is like 25 to 30 grams of protein. So definitely a good way to get in a high amount of protein fresh in the morning. So here you will see my protein orange juice. So my protein that I'm using here and that I use in my coffee is actually collagen peptides, which is about 20 grams of protein per scoop. So what I do here is I basically mix it in. It is a dissolvable protein that has no flavor. So you can add it to basically any liquid and you can't taste it. But it adds in those great amino acids and that protein for you in the morning. And it's best to be consumed with vitamin C, therefore your body can absorb it better. So that is why sometimes I like to add it into my orange juice. So also here you will see that I am using a gluten-free biscuit. This was actually a super easy recipe. In the cookbook, I will link down below. I cannot remember which one it is. It is not the Laura Lee Balanced one. So I will link that one down below, but this other cookbook has so many great gluten-free recipes that are family friendly and they are so easy and have minimal ingredients, which is crazy when it comes to like gluten-free stuff. Usually the ingredient list is just out of this world, but this is another breakfast that I will usually do when I'm short on time. I prefer to eat 3 eggs if I'm not eating it in like a sandwich form, just so I can get in adequate protein and then the carbs on the side as well as my protein orange juice. And here I am now going to take you along on my breakfast tacos and burritos. This can be meal prepped. So when I had my third, I did a heavy meal prep. So kind of like what I am doing here, I cooked up all of the ground sausage. I chopped up a ton of green pepper and onion, and then I basically cooked it all up, and then I actually assembled them and threw them in the freezer. They were actually super beneficial for when I got out of the hospital because I always knew in the mornings I was always starved from breastfeeding all night. And then you just need that carb and protein in the morning. And then the added veggies was just a major plus. So this is another breakfast item that I do go to a lot just because it does have veggies and it helps me get those veggies in first thing in the morning. So I will cook up all of the sausage and then I'll cook up all of the green peppers and onions. And then what you can do is actually take a gluten-free tortilla. There also is Siete makes a burrito size, which I find to be better for if you want to make like a gluten-free burrito. But I just felt like the brand that I will use here for this Sunday breakfast that I made for my husband and I, that this gluten-free tortilla holds up better in the freezer. You would just assemble it and then wrap it in a parchment paper. And then I also believe I wrapped it in foil just to make sure like it didn't go anywhere. You can just like tape the parchment paper to make sure, but then by time you pull it out of the freezer, it's like stuck together and then all you have to do is microwave it. So such a great idea for postpartum. Just simple ways to make sure you have breakfast on hand. So you can do this step or you can pass, but if you are going to freeze up this burritos, you're going to want about, I want to say 12 to 16 eggs. Here I did 8 eggs and it ended up only lasting us through this breakfast. Gave the girls some eggs for breakfast as well, but then I think we only had enough egg left over for maybe 1 or 2 burritos the next day. And I tried to save that for my husband so he had something to be able to quickly whip together. But if you're not going to meal prep this, you could absolutely just cook the eggs in the morning with your already cooked up sausage and green peppers, which I will show you later on in this video how I did that. But for now, we're just batch making basically a bunch of eggs. So we were able to make breakfast burritos, more like my attempt this morning. I just like to jam pack my burritos and then I just can't roll them. So you'll see later how I basically managed. But also what I like to do is my daughter loves helping crack eggs and I like her trying to learn this basically skill, but because she likes to just smash the egg in her hand, she gets a lot of egg or a lot of the egg shell into my eggs. So I usually like to have her break it in a bowl and then I will take the egg shells out and dump them into the bigger bowl, which I know in the beginning of this, she was not doing that. I learned my lesson real quick and realized, what are you doing? You don't normally do this. And I remembered why. So once the pepper and the onion is all cooked up, I will usually just scoop it out and then reuse this pan. So I will put it in a glass container, let it cool down, and then throw it in the fridge together. And then again, I'll heat up some avocado oil in a pan. And then what you want to do with these eggs, since I do not add dairy into it, like a milk to kind of thicken it, you want to cook it low and slow, and you want to kind of like move the eggs in clock, what do they call it? Like a clock position. Don't be doing what I'm doing here, which is scraping it down. This ended up making the eggs more flat, which it's okay. It's going in a burrito. It doesn't really matter, but I prefer a more fluffy egg. And in order to do that, you want to go clockwise by kind of moving your eggs around, and then it will keep them pretty fluffy. Another key to very fluffy eggs is whipping them really hard. So here, like I was mentioning earlier, the Mission gluten-free tortillas, these are the ones that I recommend if you are gluten-free and you want to like meal prep these and freeze them ahead of time. And then when you are filling them, just make sure you don't do what I do here and overfill them to where you can't roll them. So like I said, they're not a burrito size. So they're going to be you're going to need a lot less in the inside to be able to roll them up. So here I put all of the toppings. I did your egg, your cheddar cheese on top, and then I put the sausage, green pepper, and onion mixture, and then I like to top it with Cholula. I don't know what it is. It's like a Western, I believe they call it like a Western mix kind of taco, burrito taste. Honestly, what it is and what I created this from is basically my husband requesting McDonald's breakfast burritos, which is basically the taste of this. He really wanted them and really missed them since he's gluten-free. And so I just tried recreating them. So then here again is another morning where I didn't really have eggs left. So I pulled out some green pepper and some onion that I did not cook. This was just meal prepped, as in I cut it up real quick. And then here I'm whisking the eggs. Like I said, you want to be very ferociously whisking the egg just to get them all bubbly and frothy. And then I am tossing in some cooked sausage, and then I'm going to end up mixing all of that together to cook down. And then what you're going to want to do once this has cooked a little bit and then your green peppers and onions are more translucent, you're going to push it over to one side and then be able to pour in your eggs like you will see here. So when you put it in the pan, this is kind of like what you want to do when you're like making fried rice. When you're cooking the rice on the other side and you add the egg, you want to kind of let it cook a little bit on one side so it doesn't just completely mix in with your mixture on the other side. And then you're going to try to basically do the clockwise motion. It's hard when it's on one side, so my eggs came out a little flat, which is fine. I ended up just mixing this all together and just dividing it in half to create a breakfast taco this time. So when I use the siete cassava flour tortillas, I go in it fully planning on making a more breakfast taco just because those are like next to impossible to roll into a burrito. And if you did, it would be like a mini burrito. So like I said, I like to have high protein breakfast. So in order to be able to get enough protein in those tacos or basically burrito, I have to create a taco. So here I'm coming in again with the avocado oil. You have to put a little bit down in order to heat up these tortillas. Being gluten-free and cassava flour, they do tear easily. So then what you're going to see here is I heat it up a little bit and then I put down some cheese. I was out of shredded cheese this morning, so I just used one of those Horizons, I believe, organic American cheese. And then topped it with the hot egg sausage pepper mixture, so the cheese would melt. But I did give it a little bit of time to let the cheese melt and then cook up the tortilla a little bit because I wanted it to be slightly crunchy and not more of a soft taco. So I will then top this with Cholula and eat this as a very overstuffed taco. It is so good. You have to trust me and you have to try it. If you do, definitely leave a comment down below and let me know what you thought. But please like this video if you liked it, just so I know to make more of these type of videos. And be sure to stick around to the end to see the list of upcoming videos that I have coming soon. And don't forget to subscribe so you do not miss another video. I do release videos weekly, so I will see you next week. Thank you for watching. Bye, guys.